Welcome back, second grade scholars. Today is Monday, May 8th, 2020, and I hope you had a fantastic weekend with your family. Awesome. We're going to jump right in here to today's lesson. So for today's lesson, we're going to bring it back to a unit of measure that we used in the very beginning of this year, and that was centimeters. So think back to the beginning of school. Think about the size of a centimeter. I know we talked a little bit about benchmarks last week with our inches and our feet. And I know that we did the same thing in the beginning of the year. And I remember us saying that a paper clip was about 3 centimeters long, okay? So today we're going to be using centimeters and inches, and we're going to be measuring objects in both centimeters and inches, and then talking about the measurements that we get and why we have more of one measurement and less of another. So here is today's problem solving task. It has 3 parts. So when you get your paper and your pencil, I want you to write part A, part B, and then part C. And you'll need the most space for part C for you to do a little bit of writing and explaining. So for part A and part B, we have a straw. It's the same exact straw, and for part A, your job is to measure the straw in centimeters. There is a centimeter ruler right underneath. And then for part B, your job is to measure the straw in inches, and I provided an inch ruler right underneath. After you have measured in centimeters and gotten your answer, and measured in inches and you have your answer, I then want you to think about and explain in writing why the straw measures more in centimeters than inches. If you think back to some of the lessons that we've already done in this measurement unit, you should be able to use that to help you answer part C. So right now, I want you to go ahead and pause the video so that you can answer today's problem solving task. Okay, hopefully by now you've had a chance to pause the video, just so you've had that work time so that you can answer today's question. So part A, measure the straw in centimeters. I need to show those great same habits for measuring. So that means I need to draw my lines from my starting point and connect it to the ruler. So as you can see, the straw starts at 0 centimeters and the end point. Now, when I look here, I can see that the end point is between the halfway point and 10. So that means it's closer to 10 centimeters. So if I start at 0 and I go all the way to 10, that means my straw is 10 centimeters long. Awesome. Now we have to do the same thing, and we have to measure, but measuring in inches this time. So using those same math habits, I'm going to draw a line and connect it to the ruler. As you can see, it starts at 0 inches, and it goes all the way to just about 4. As you can tell, it's between 3 and 4, but it's past the halfway point, so it's closer to 4, so I'm calling it 4 inches. So if it starts at 0 and it goes all the way to 4, that means it's 4 inches long. Awesome. So now that we have our measurements, we know that it takes more centimeters to measure this straw than it does inches. And your job was to explain why. Now, we had a similar problem last week where we had to figure out why something measured more inches than feet, and we talked about how inches are a smaller unit than feet, and when you have a smaller unit, you need more of them to measure the same object. Well, that's true here too, except centimeters are smaller than inches. So because centimeters are a smaller unit, you need more of them, or more centimeters than inches to measure the same object. So that's what I would be writing here in my explanation. You need more, or you have more centimeters. I'm going to use cm for centimeters as an abbreviation. You have more centimeters than inches, in for inches, because centimeters are a smaller unit, so you need more of them to measure the same object. So when we're thinking about using centimeters to measure anything, to use that as our unit to measure something, we're really thinking about things that are small. And most things that are small you can measure with your choice of centimeters or inches, but something like even like the length of my fingernail would probably make more sense to measure in a small unit like centimeters instead of a unit like inches, which is just a little bit bigger. So it's important that you understand that when you're measuring in centimeters and inches, you're going to get more centimeters for your measurement because centimeters are a smaller unit than inches, and because it's smaller, you're going to need more of them. So today we're going to continue practicing measuring objects in centimeters and inches, and we're also going to be spending some time too showing those really good math habits when it comes to measuring. So this is the very first problem here that we're doing together for our discussion problems. And our job is to measure it in both centimeters and inches. I can tell this is the centimeter ruler, not only because there's 15 of them, there's more of them than this ruler, but also because cm stands for centimeter. And I can tell that this is the inch ruler because it says inch, and also this is a bigger unit. But something I'm noticing right away is that this is going to be a little bit more difficult than my problem solving task. And that's because the Sharpie marker is in the middle of both the rulers. Doesn't start at 0, it's going to start at another number. So it's building upon other things that we have done in this unit. So still, if I am measuring in centimeters, I have to follow those same great habits that we have been following so far. So I draw a starting point line to connect to the ruler. It's about 4 centimeters. That's the starting point. I always have to figure that out. And then when I look at the end, it's about 11 centimeters. So now I need to think 4 plus what is going to get me 11. I can use this ruler to help me, like a number line, and make my jumps to figure it out. So I would start at 4, so this would be 4 to 5 would be 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7. I made 7 jumps between 4 and 11. So the Sharpie marker measures 7 centimeters long. That's its length. Awesome. Now in our problem solving task, we talked about how centimeters are a smaller unit than inches. So because of that, I'm already thinking that the length of a Sharpie in inches is going to be less than 7. Because when we're measuring in centimeters, it's a small unit, so you're going to need more of them than when you're measuring in a bigger unit like inches. So let's see if I'm right. I need to follow those same great math habits, drawing my line for the start of my Sharpie and connecting it to the ruler. As you can see, it starts at 2 inches. Now when I go all the way over to the side, I draw my line where the Sharpie ends, and I can see that my line ends between 4 and 5. If you notice though, it ends after the halfway point. So because it ends after the halfway point, I'm going to call this 5 inches. It's not exact, but I'm doing some rounding to figure it out. So that means that I'm starting at 2 and I go to 5. So 2 plus what equals 5? 2 plus what equals 5? Well, that's 3. So this Sharpie measures 3 inches long. So again, we measured the same object, the same Sharpie, but I have more centimeters because centimeters are a smaller unit than inches. And so when I have a smaller unit, I'm going to need more of them to measure the same object. Wonderful. This next question, I'm going to zoom up, I'm going to zoom in and move this paper up so you can really see it. is asking you to take this lollipop and to measure it in centimeters and inches. Think in your head right now, should you have more centimeters or more inches? Hopefully you're thinking, I should have more centimeters because it's a smaller unit, so I'm going to need more of them to measure the same object. So right now, do your best zooming in here to this problem, and I want you to write down the measurement for the lollipop in centimeters and the measurement for the lollipop in inches. Go ahead and pause the video so that you can get started on that problem. Awesome. Hopefully you've had enough time to solve that problem by yourself. Now we're going to go over it together. So the very first thing I need to do is make sure I know which ruler is here, and this is the centimeter ruler because it says cm. And now I have to do those wonderful math habits of drawing my line from my starting point, which is 7 centimeters, just about, and my end point. Awesome. So I can tell that my end point here, and I really want you to see this, so I'm going to zoom into that line. That end point is between 12 and 13. Because it's past the halfway point, that means it's closer to 13. So I'm going to call this 13 centimeters, and I'll zoom back out so you can see that. 13 centimeters. So that means that my lollipop starts at 7 centimeters and goes to 13. So 7 plus what is 13? Some of you can probably do that fact power question in your head, but I'm going to use my number line here to show you how you can use your ruler as a number line. So here's 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, and 6. So that means that this lollipop is 6 centimeters long. Hopefully you're thinking in your head that you should have less inches, and that's because you have inches are a bigger unit than centimeters, and because of that, you're going to need less of them. When the unit is smaller, you need more of them. So still following those same good habits, I'm going to draw my line to connect to my ruler. You can tell that this lollipop starts at 1 centimeter, and if I go over to the end and draw my line, whew, for me, when I drew my line, I got exactly, I got between 3 and 4. I'm going to zoom in again here so you can see that. You can see how the line is between 3 and 4. Now, because this line has not reached the halfway point, that means it's closer to 3. It hasn't gone to the halfway point between 3 and 4, so that means I'm going to round down and call this 3 inches. So that means that my lollipop goes from my mistake. That says centimeters, it should say inches. This is my inch ruler. So 1 inch to 3 inches. So that's the length, so let's figure it out. 1, 2. So, because it started at 1 inch and went to 3 inches, that means I had to do my math of 1 plus what equals 3, and we just figured out that this lollipop is 2 inches long. Awesome. And again, inches are a bigger unit than centimeters, so I should have less of them. And centimeters are a smaller unit than inches, so I'm going to need more of them to measure the same object. Please keep that in your mind while you work on your exit ticket. So now is your chance to go into the rest of your Seesaw activity, pull up that exit ticket, and do your best job answering those questions. You should see that it's pretty similar to what we did together today. This time you are going to be looking at someone's work who measured an unsharpened pencil. Awesome. Any questions at all about what we did today? Any questions at all about the difference between the measurements in centimeters and the measurement in inches, or even about those math habits that we were showing and the rounding we were doing in our practice problems? Please, 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 please reach out to your teachers. And I will see you guys again tomorrow with another math video. I hope you have a wonderful rest of your day.